This is the Making Waves Mindset Show with your hosts, Richard DiBiase
and Dave Moskowitz. Learn from our journey as we share the ups and downs
of being your own boss.
Well, welcome everyone to another fine edition of the Making Waves Mindset Show. Thank you for joining us today.
Here we are. Our awesome second season, our awesome guests that we can bring onto the show, and our ability to dream bigger,
make waves, and take action in life. If it's your first time listening to the Making Waves Mindset Show, this is a community, this is a tribe of like-minded people who have either chosen to leave the 9-to-5, needed that motivation and discipline to get out, or decided the entrepreneurial journey was for them. And Dave and I have shared our ups and downs since we've left the 9-to-5, and we have brought on so many incredible guests who are either, let's say, behind us in the journey, still trying to figure out how to leave. They're in alignment with us right now as where we are in our story, or they are decades ahead and have accomplished so many incredible things as business owners and are willing to come here to share that with you. So as Dave says, if you find value in the show,
that's right. Make sure you subscribe, click those links, click those like buttons on whatever platform you're listening to, or if you're watching it, please subscribe and follow our journey along with our guest journey. And if you're liking it, please share it. If you don't like that episode, share it with someone who might.
Yeah, we love that. So today we have an incredible person on the show. Kyle Andrews is our guest. Thank you for joining us, Kyle.
Thank you for having me, guys. Couldn't be happier to be here.
And this is exciting, Dave, because Kyle was somebody who followed me when I was in policing as our media relations and social media officer. Saw that I had left policing, went into entrepreneurship, still decided to follow that journey, and took action. He did something that so many people are unwilling to do. And Kyle's going to be an exciting guest to share his journey, because today he's a business owner and he has taken action. That is the biggest. He dreamt bigger. He made waves in life, made a change, and took action. So, Kyle, the floor is yours. I think let's try and start with maybe how we connected, or what you were doing previously in life, or if there were anything growing up that was kind of that light bulb to be, I want to be an entrepreneur. I wanted to change. So the floor is yours. You start that journey, and we'll have that open conversation with you. So.
Well, yeah. So again, thank you for having me. Also, I just wanted to congratulate you guys on your first year. The space is so saturated with podcasts, and just the fact that you guys have been able to find value and provide value for the last 12 months is definitely something to be proud of.
Thank you so much.
Again, happy to be here. So the last 10 years or so, I've been chasing a career in law enforcement. And as we all know, the young people who are trying to get into law enforcement these days, of course, will follow a couple hundred cops from around North America just because you follow the things that you want to see, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, of course, Richard was one of them. I didn't know much about, I think it was CN Police that Richard worked for.
Yeah.
I didn't know much about them, but he gave a pretty good insight into what that service was all about and what their roles were. So you want to follow different people from different services, just so it's kind of like part of your research and knowing who you want to apply for later on.
Totally.
Unfortunately, I didn't get as far into that process as I would have liked. That's a whole other discussion, but essentially I just kind of lacked a little bit of discipline and wasn't able to get to the hiring stages the way that I would have liked to, which brings in 75 hard and all the good stuff that I'm sure we'll talk about later on.
Yes.
But I noticed that Richard and of course Dave followed a new path with the podcast and with the businesses, getting out of the law enforcement rat race. And so I noticed it at first that you were making that change, and I thought, oh, cool, good for him, whatever. Everyone's making a lot of changes these days.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think it was very, very shortly after I decided to make a big change in my life as well. And I think everything was just happening at the right time. And, I started to find real value in the episodes that you guys were putting out very quick once I caught up to everything. I think I got into the podcast maybe a couple months after you guys had started it. And I decided, hey, you know what? Screw it. I'm really liking this podcast. These are, real people. They're not, celebrities from, California or something where you can't reach out to these guys and get a response. So I was like, screw it. I'm gonna message these guys and say, hey, listen, I think the podcast is great, and I think I'm
Thank you.
finding real value, and I'm sure other people were as well. So
Thank you.
I'm happy that I made that I decided to reach out and message you guys, because honestly, I think I'm starting to really believe that you're starting to meet people for a real reason, and I think that this might have been one of those connections that happened for a reason, at least for me. So again,
Kyle,
you guys go ahead.
We'll jump in right at that point, because that is something that we've heard from so many people. And in our previous recording, Dave and I just did, we spoke about that, is dreaming bigger and finding those people that all of a sudden start showing up in your network and your community, because you now are thinking outside the box, and these people, they're like magnets.
Yeah.
So exactly what you said, it's so true.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm very happy that I made that connection, and of course we've continued to keep in touch ever since. You've been a good resource to bounce information off of, and I guess to rant about the world with as well, of course.
Yeah.
But I mean, regardless of what time we're in, there's always things to rant about, right? So it's
For
not
sure.
even time specific. But so yeah, no, it's I guess my business journey, I guess it's very fresh as well, of course, because it's been less than a year since you guys have started this stuff. But really, the life-changing moment for me, honestly, was the passing of my father at the beginning of the pandemic.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Condolences.
The big thing for me was, I guess, during the pandemic, I started to slowly lose my interest in law enforcement, just everything that's going on around the world. I think everyone in that space can attest to the fact that law enforcement has changed. Whether you think it's in a good way or a bad way, it's just different from what it was when I first, fell in love with the idea of it.
It has, yeah.
So, and with the passing of my father, I knew that I had more options financially, and I knew that I could kind of pick where I was going to go from there. Didn't have to be pressured into following a certain path. And of course, everyone in the back of their mind wants to be a business owner, whether they admit it or not. I don't think anyone wants to, I don't think anyone brags about having a boss. I know that, you get into the job that you set out for and you're proud of yourself. But I think at the end of the day, everyone would rather be the owner of the business than getting a salary from the business. And I knew that I had the opportunity to be an owner, to be in a position of leadership. And so, yeah, I decided to really start thinking seriously about what types of businesses I would be effective in. I know originally, at least for a couple months, I was seriously looking into starting a limousine company.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, believe it or not. So, I mean, based on my previous jobs, I love driving. I love dealing with people. I can talk for hours.
You're a perfect fit on the Making Waves Mindset show.
Yeah, perfect. I got all day. But through my experience, I mean, dealing with and speaking with all different people from different walks of life, it just seemed like something that would be very natural to me. Looking at the finances of it as well, I would kind of be like an owner-operator type situation, and I thought that it might be something that I would be interested in at least trying. But I think I realized that I'm not much of an entrepreneur. I'm more of an intrapreneur, where I decided that it was probably best for me in this journey to invest into a process that was already proven and established by someone who's already gone through the nitty gritty of it, living in their car, dealing with all the ups and downs, the bankruptcies, the whole nine, right? So thankfully I was able to find a business in Patrice Associates, where the founder Patrice has gone through all of those ups and downs, and has come out with an amazing product and an amazing business model that I fell in love with right away. And how I found Patrice and Associates was, of course, our friend Gigi, the franchise guide.
Yes.
So shout out to Giuseppe.
And for those who don't know who Giuseppe is, we had him in and around episode 25 or so, and he was our first connection to the U.S., and he is a franchise consultant, and that was a phrase I had never heard. I didn't even know it was a job title, but
Me neither.
essentially, yeah, he looks at what your interests are, their financial backing, and really pairs you with one of, or a handful of, over 4,000 franchises in North America, if that's the route you choose. And to Kyle's point, it's a business model that's proven. It's rinse and repeat, and you really just follow the model. And Gigi has been a fantastic guest, a friend and mentor, and the three of us have enjoyed our relationship with him. He's been great.
Yeah, working with him was an absolute pleasure, honestly. It was a very intimidating process for me. I mean, I know that I'm a little bit younger in terms of people who get into stuff like this, but I had never, I mean, I went from being a security guard to all of a sudden talking to someone from the States about buying franchises, right? So it was a world that I was very new in, and I'm not used to being intimidated in my lifetime, but it was a different type of intimidation, right? I'm sure, like, coming from the world that you guys came from, you understand that part of it. And so, yeah, I'm very happy that I decided to reach out and, go through the process of reaching out with you guys, and then actually using the resources that were available from this show
Awesome.
to go and make a change like that. So,
Awesome.
yeah,
That's awesome to hear.
I owe a lot of it to Giuseppe.
Yeah. And you probably I would suggest that you owe a lot to yourself in following through with your goals and being able to dream bigger, like we say, and taking action. And the fact that you actually went through that, we were talking about it in an episode that's yet to air, about how people don't take those steps and how they don't use what's given to them for free. And if it's out there and you feel that you have the ability to do those research and look into things and have the ability to follow through with something, you got to thank yourself for doing that, because only you can give yourself the motivation to move forward. And the fact that you mentioned that you're young in the industry, or you're young to own a business, that's baloney. At the end of the day, it was a right fit for you at the right time, and it's a right fit for you at the right time in your life, and you have the means and you had the ability to follow through with it. So kudos to you for doing that. And it warms my heart to the fact that we've been able to help somebody, more people than we even know, I'm sure, that haven't come forward and told us, but to hear a good story come out of the information that we're bringing to people and putting out there into the world for people to eat up and follow through with. So it's awesome to hear, but give yourself kudos to the fact
100%.
that you followed through with your ability to think big and dream big, right?
Those disciplines, right? Like that.
Yeah, it's discipline. I mean, I think it's a word that's not used enough. I know that there's a certain niche in social media that's all about the discipline stuff, and I'm sure we all follow all of those people. That's just the decision that we've made moving forward, that discipline is going to be a big part of our life. I'm still working on making that an everyday part of my life. I'm not perfect. I know chasing the law enforcement dream, fitness was always a big part of that. What if? And, the working out part of it was always easy for me, but then it was having the discipline to go and doing the parts of fitness that you don't enjoy, which is mainly the cardio, being disciplined with your time to volunteer, stuff like that. And that's just never something that I was able to get a grip of and handle consistently in my life. And of course, everyone around me, is getting hired, and they're telling me I'm next. But if I'm not putting the work in, that I'm not gonna reach the same successful levels as everyone else around me, right? So that was something that I had to come to grips with as well in the last couple of years. But now, as motivated as I could be, I still wouldn't be interested, unfortunately. So that's where I knew that it was time to pick a different path. It sucks to admit defeat, because when you spend 10 years thinking that, you live and breathe law enforcement, and then all of a sudden it's, well, now I need to find something else to do. It is, it's like a shot to the ego in a way, right? Where you're admitting failure, but now it's time to move on and make sure that the things that kept you from succeeding in the first path don't affect your new path. So that's what I'm really working on.
I think, Kyle, to your point there too, like, I know what you're saying. There's a lot of people, and Dave and I have been mentors to many. I personally coached people into policing, And I think one of the biggest challenges there is, yeah, okay, sure, there's an ego aspect. That's what you want. And if you don't make it, you're done. But I think what's more important is the fact that you have the integrity and the accountability in yourself to acknowledge that I want to do something different, and it's okay to walk away from that. Because on the other side, there are a lot of police officers who are just in it for the cool sunglasses, haircut, and a badge in the wallet. You know what I'm saying? And that side of policing, people on the outside, especially the younger generation, don't see that once you hit that like 8-year mark, you start burning out quickly. And there's that meme with Leonardo DiCaprio where it's the rookie, year 1, senior constable, years 3 to 7, and then sergeant, and then the guy's just like a bag of garbage at the end. But that's what happens. There's just so much pride that they can't accept defeat, and it eats away at them. And then I'll admit, they're the people in the obituary sections very quickly after retirement, or even if they make it into, they've become alcoholics, they're divorced, there's some other issue going on. So kudos to you. There's no shame in that. Yeah. And I think that takes tremendous courage and shows to your character that I don't want to do that anymore. And it's okay. I can step back. Look at how young I am. I just launched a business. And I bet you there's nobody at your age who's doing that in your friend group, at least.
Yeah, well, over the last couple of years, my friend group has definitely gotten smaller, but that comes with.
That's okay.
Yeah, we know why we're laughing, but so I mean, but at the same time, you want to associate with people that are going to bring value to your life, right?
That's right.
And something that I realized well before the last couple of years happened was that I mean, if people want to, they want to party every weekend and they just want to complain, be a victim, then that's not the energy that I want around me, honestly. And I've never had issues with cutting those people off personally, and I'm glad that I still held people to that standard around me. But at the end of the day, I needed to hold myself to a certain standard, and I was never doing that. But we're definitely turning that around. So good. I think the future's bright when
for sure,
taking all of these lessons and putting them to good use.
Definitely. Yeah, it's a matter of just holding yourself accountable. David Goggins is a great book if you have never read it or listened to the audio. Apparently the audio book is better than the actual written book, but if you ever have a chance, read that. It's about holding yourself accountable, and it's very motivating to see different ways to hold yourself accountable and to follow through with those goals. And let me ask you something, Kyle. Do you think that your mindset now, if you would have had this mindset when you were trying to go out for the police department, you would have succeeded?
Oh, I'd be in uniform right now. Yeah. There's no arguing that. I mean, it's like every couple months you'd have that January 1st motivation where, you get a little reminder of where you're at and where you want to be. And then it lasts a couple months, and then you just skate by for a little bit, and then you get that January 1st motivation again. But so now my focus is on taking that January 1st motivation, but having the discipline to actually do something about it every single day. So that, again, it's the discipline, and it's the knowing the reality of if you don't do certain things, then you just flat out aren't going to be successful. And that's just what it is, right? I'm a realist. My superpower is self-awareness.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm good at one thing, it's just being self-aware and knowing what I'm doing or what I'm not doing.
Yeah.
To push me to the next level. And I mean, I wasn't I thought back then, just any good security experience is going to get you in. Who cares if I don't pass the beep test, right?
Yeah.
But if you don't pass the beep test, you don't get an interview. That's just the way it is.
That's right.
So I wasn't being realistic with myself. I had everyone around me telling me, I'm going to be such a great cop, blah, blah, blah. But if you don't apply to be a cop, you can't get to that point, then you're never going to be a cop, right? That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was me trying to do all the bare minimum and hiding behind my security experience, which I know I had good security experience, but nowadays to be a police officer, you need so much more than that, right?
Oh yeah.
So I wasn't being realistic with myself, but nowadays that's definitely changing.
Yeah.
So
So tell us about your business. Let's plug that a little.
okay, sweet.
Yeah.
So, so now I'm a franchisee and executive recruiter with Patrice Associates Recruiting Specialists.
Cool.
We are a franchising firm that was started by Patrice in. I actually don't remember Patrice's last name. That's probably a problem. But so
That's okay. You get a
but,
pass on the show.
yeah, Patrice is Patrice. You know, she's the one. So so she started this business just under 30 years ago. Again, went through all the trials and tribulations of figuring out what worked, what didn't work. And now, she's got a very, very successful and very, very large recruiting firm with her name on it, which I think is the most badass thing in the world. Having so many people making money for a business with your name on it, I think is just the greatest thing ever. So that was also very motivating to me. And she's got a farm, which is also really cool. So I want both of those things.
That's awesome. Yeah.
That's part of dreaming bigger,
Who doesn't want a farm now, right?
Yeah.
That's
to have
true.
your name on a business that's franchisable
Yes,
is
absolutely.
It's pretty
huge.
big.
Yeah.
It's pretty big.
Yeah, that's one of the goals. So Patrice and Associates, again, it's a recruiting firm. We mainly work within the hospitality industry, so the restaurant industry, college, university, hospital, cafeterias, as well as the hotel industry, resorts, that sort of thing. That's where a majority of our business is made, but we do have the freedom to work in all industries. Just a lot of our contacts and our resources are geared towards the hospitality industry. And we specialize in hiring management to executive level positions within those industries.
Awesome.
So based on the standards and the quality of service that we provide, and just of course our fees for the candidates that we land, we choose to only work with management to executive level positions, because those are, at the end of the day, those are the positions that owners of businesses really invest their time and money into.
Of course.
So that's our niche market, right?
That's awesome.
It's been an amazing experience so far. It's not something that I ever saw myself doing 2 years ago. If you were to ask me if I'd ever work behind a desk with a computer, I would say F no. There's not a chance in the world, right?
Yeah.
But the more and more I learned about this business, it showed me the freedom that you can have outside of your day-to-day stuff. So I can run this business from anywhere in the world. Anywhere you have Wi-Fi, you can work. So that was great, because I thought that I wanted to relocate to the States at some point. So, and of course that brings us into, visa conversations and stuff like that. And I knew that this is a company that I could run remotely and scale up in the States while I'm still here for a little bit. But as of right now, my territory is in Burlington, Ontario, which is also my hometown. So I think that's also really cool, being a business owner, owning a territory where you grew up and where all your friends, where all your friends are born, and just everything is in Burlington for me, right?
Yeah.
Besides a little bit of family. So yeah, I'm really happy to be where I am, and I'm looking to take over Burlington very, very shortly.
You will.
You will, 100%.
You will.
And Kyle, you have the mindset for it. So something you shared with us was you got your first sale. And for many people that listen and follow and learn about business, it's always the what if. I'm worried. How do I make the sale? Somebody's going to say no. Like, this is a huge milestone. And as I now also enter the franchise world with our new business, having the CEO go, Richard, it's about the first sale. And that's the big thing. It's the first sale. And as business owners, we have to get there. And if you're new, you need to get there. But Kyle, you did it. So let's talk about that experience. What did it feel like? Was it nervousness, and what has that done for you today?
Well, it was definitely a weight off my back, finding out that I got my first hire. So yes, in our business, it's hires, not sales, but it's all the same thing, right?
Okay.
not just so people know. So I mean, we are selling the services at the end of the day, but this was it was a hire made for a client that's actually owned by my regional developer. So everyone has their own clients. And then within our business model, you have the option to open up your jobs that are being hired by your clients for all the other franchisees in North America to work them. So I can have a job open in Burlington, and I can have someone in Hawaii working the job for me if it's, if I have too many jobs to work, that sort of deal. So my regional developer, who's also like my franchise coach, this was his client. But yeah, it was a big relief, that's for sure. I didn't think that it would happen this quick. I'm probably one of those people that are guilty of going into your training class and judging everyone around you and saying, "Oh, they're going to be so much better than me." I naturally do that in everything business related at this point, which is probably unfortunate, but it is what it is. So, but I'm working around that, and hopefully the success in the business will help with that attitude. But so yeah, when I found out, I wanted to jump up and down, but I realized that now I want the second one. Now I want the third one, right?
Hungry.
It's not over. Well, yeah, I mean, one sale is not going to pay the bills, right? So,
True.
but it is, yes, like if you can get that first one, of course you can get the second one. Of course you can get the third one. Why can't you get 100? You just do what you did the first time 100 times, right?
Yeah.
My goal is to get that 100th higher in the smallest amount of time as possible, of course. But yeah, no, it was a breath of fresh air seeing that I was able to get my first hire pretty quick in terms of where everybody else is at in my my training class, which I know I shouldn't be comparing to other people's success, but it's tough not to when you're brand new into the world of business and everyone else around you has, they've had executive positions in the industry that you're working in. So they already have those resources and those connections that they can make. But yeah, I'm definitely I'm very happy with making that first hire and hopefully get another one very soon.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's about just understanding, because it's a franchise, it's understanding the process and following that process. I always relate franchise owning now to Lego. You get your Lego package, you purchase it from the store. That's step one. You bring it into your house. Step two, you open it up. Step three, and then step 4 through 500 is following those directions. And if you don't follow step 4 to 500, then it's going to look like a velociraptor without an arm. It's going to look like a pirate ship without the sails, right?
Absolutely.
So as long as you follow those directions from 4 to 500, then you'll be successful, and it'll look like something at the end of the day.
Exactly. When you know that you've got a franchisor, and it's not just this massive company, it's one individual that started it by themselves and they've built this empire. I mean, how can you tell them that you've found a better way of doing things, right?
That's right.
It's just not going to happen when I'm doing calls with Patrice, the founder, and she's sitting on an acreage and talking about, all the possibilities and everything that she's got going on. It's tough for me to sit here in my condo and say, well, I think I can do it better than you. Right.
That's right.
So that's definitely not that's not what I'm going to be doing. So it is just, if you ever, especially in franchising, if you ever find yourself not being as successful as you expected to be, then you just have to go back and look at, are you implementing the process the way that you were told to? And because of course your franchisor is just going to tell you, well, of course you're not. That's
right.
Everyone else has been successful. Why aren't you?
That's right.
Right. So it's up to you to just take the process and act it out as many times as you have to make your money. But
how did you end up? Sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Dave.
How did you end up finding? I know you went through GG, but how did you end up choosing? I would suggest is this franchise out of. I'm sure for those of you who don't understand franchise process, they end up giving you a top 2, top 3, and you choose one of them, right?
Yeah. So going through, I guess, like the questionnaire process with Giuseppe asking us, a whole bunch of questions about skill sets, where we want to take the business, where we're going to be working the business, how much time we want to put into the business, things that we're interested in. All of that stuff came into account, and actually, to be honest with you, I was very shocked that he mentioned Patrice and Associates, only because, again, like, nothing I would have said over the phone or on our call would lead you to believe that I want to work behind a desk.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, now I'm loving it, so I'm very thankful that he suggested Patrice and Associates for me.
Right.
But so he actually he gave me two businesses. One was Patrice and Associates, and one was a restoration company as well.
Mm.
And I originally thought that I was going to lean towards the restoration company originally, and the more and more time that I would spend off my call with Giuseppe, just, you're constantly thinking about these things while you're eating dinner, while you're working out. Like, all of these little things are running through your mind, right? Because when you're in this process, it's impossible to turn it off. You're just thinking business 24/7, whether you like it or not. And the more and more I thought about it, I just started to fall in love with the idea more and more every day. And I didn't know why, honestly. But again, it was the freedom, just the flexibility, not freedom, but like the flexibility of being able to work wherever, make your own schedule. And the money that you make is solely set on the amount of effort that you put in. So that's another thing. I think life should just be that way in general, of course. If you want to work 30 hours straight, then the amount of money that you make is probably going to reflect that. And if you want to work 2 hours a day, your money is going to reflect that as well.
Yeah.
So it's good when you get to choose how much time you want to put into it, especially at the beginning. Where I'm not someone who's working 24 hours a day. I still want to keep somewhat of a balance with my home life, but I do understand the fact that, if you want to be a billionaire, you're not going to have any balance in your life, especially not for a long time, right?
Right.
Depending on the amount of success that you want. So, but yeah, it's definitely a good choice that I made so far, and I'm looking forward to seeing how I can scale it up in the future with hiring recruiters, attacking more jobs all over the country. I mean, I can hire recruiters any part of North America, and then they can work jobs that are local to them, and then I just get passive income from it. So nothing wrong with that, right? Yeah.
Amazing.
So the one thing I loved, Kyle, kind of going back a little, was you acknowledged that you can't compare yourself to others. And when you're in the entrepreneurial space, and you can attest to this, you feel like you're alone. You don't have that 9-to-5 person telling you, you got to do this, you got to do this, you got to do this. And that's the pathway. But you're now in this open boat, and nobody's telling you where to push that sail. So not comparing yourself is one of the biggest things. It's something that I struggle with. I've done some social media videos on that, because you want to start somewhere and you want to go somewhere else and you want to do this. You're like, but so-and-so's there and so-and-so's there. And you're having to be like, just stop. You're on your own path, your own journey. So I loved when you shared that. One of the things I wanted to ask you was, what advice could you give for someone starting up, or maybe considering opening a business or opening a franchise? What advice could you give them to help push them through without trying to compare themselves? Because it's a scary journey walking alone.
Yeah. I mean, comparing yourself to somebody who's in the exact same scenario as you is going to be much more natural to do than comparing yourself to someone who's living a completely different lifestyle than you. Yeah. I don't feel the need to compare myself to people that are working a 9-to-5, because they're just leading a completely different journey than me, right? My journey's no better or worse than theirs is. Of course, we need employees in this world. Not every single person can be self-employed, of course. Otherwise, the economy and just the world wouldn't, I guess, run the same way. We need people that have that employee mindset, of course, because then otherwise none of these major companies would ever exist, right? And then none of us would have employees for our own businesses. So it's no disrespect or looking down on people that are employees and are okay with that, but at the same time, I'm not going to I want more for myself than that. I want to employ people. I want to be that employer that people are proud of working for. a lot like Andy Frisella. We can talk about him for hours,
Mhm.
but he's definitely one of those guys that people come to work every day for him, and they're proud as hell to say that they work for Andy Frisella, right?
That's
Yeah.
true.
And
Yeah.
who knows if we'll ever be on that scale, but I would love people to have that same attitude coming to work for me.
That's right.
So I can't, comparing myself to people who are employees would probably hold me back from ever becoming that next level type of employer. But again, it's natural to uh, to to compare yourself to people who are in the same class as you, because you're learning the exact same information and
Mhm.
you're expecting to do the exact same things. Um, but yeah, when it comes to people who are in a 9 to 5, I mean, it is what it is with them. If you like everyone, people are still proud of themselves when they're working for a big company and they get their big salary and all that type of stuff. It's just the little intangibles that I want differently in my life, in terms of the flexibility, not having to ask for a day off, that
Right.
type of thing,
Yeah.
So true.
right?
So
And
true.
being in a position where people are dependent on me instead of the other way around.
Right.
Like, I never want to be dependent on another human being in my life.
Yeah.
So
I love it.
that's just me as a person. So like the one person I was very dependent on was my dad, and now that obviously that's not an option. It's like it's you got to do things on your own now, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, that's the way that I look at things moving forward.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, what is one word of advice that you can give somebody, or a phrase of advice that you can give people who are listening to us about making that decision to go into business yourself rather than follow the path that you were on?
I mean, there's a bunch of different ways that you can look at that. I guess there's um, I guess if there's certain things that you want to accomplish, if you're not going to do the things that you need to do to accomplish that, somebody else is already doing them anyways. Like if you're
True.
competing, if you want to get into a certain industry or a certain space and there's a lot of competition in it, every day that you're not moving toward that goal, somebody else is. And
Mhm.
for me, that was a big thing with policing, was like these classes are going to get hired. Like they're
Mhm.
going to fill every single spot in this class, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
So if it's not you, it's going to be someone else.
Right.
So if you're not getting out and you're not going to volunteering every week, if you're not, you're not doing your running, if you're not doing the little things, then you're never going to get to the big thing. And that's just the reality of it. So I know that's long and drawn out, but
Yeah. No, I like that. Yeah.
it's at the end of the day, everything that is worth working towards achieving, it's not going to happen overnight.
Mhm.
Besides, winning the lottery, but even people who win the lottery, buy tickets every week for their whole life, right?
Sure.
It's
Yeah.
true.
So even things like that, you have to put time in. So, but in the real world, outside of the lottery, you have to put in even a lot more time than that, right?
Yeah.
So I know that I am, I'm blessed in a way where I've realized this before I hit 30. It's because when I turn 29 tomorrow, it's gonna be
Oh.
it's gonna be balls to the wall.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, there's not gonna be
Awesome.
any slacking moving forward. But
That's amazing. That's a
Yeah.
great story. I love it. Thank you for sharing. That's awesome to hear.
100%. Kyle, are you reading any books at all? Do you have anything on the go or anything you've most recently read?
I've been slacking so much on my reading. For the last year and a half, I was reading nonstop during the afternoon, at night. Um, right now, I'm actually reading a book. It's about Native history, which I'm very interested in.
Mm.
Okay.
Which people around me would be very surprised by that, but I'm very interested in history. I'm a history buff to the bone, and the Native history is very interesting to me. So it's a book based around, I guess, the history of the Comanches down in the Texas area,
Oh, wow.
a little around the Civil War time, with the Texas Rangers,
Cool.
like that sort of era. And with the when the first, like, the time when like the first revolver was invented and that type of stuff. So like that type of history back then is very interesting to me. Before that, I've gone back and forth between reading the For Dummies books and reading a history book.
Yeah.
And that's okay, because I know
Yeah.
Dave had mentioned, like, I was tired of reading self-help, but I'm kind of the same way. Like, I'm like you, like, I think the three of us want to have that balance of not everything is self-help and hearing about another Goggins. It's like, just clear your mind. Go read that. Was it Dave Bourdain?
Anthony
The cookbook,
Bourdain.
Anthony
Yeah.
Bourdain.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm looking at something on like Bitcoin, like, it's nothing to do with self-help, but it's like, you want to just
Yeah,
let your mind float.
there's only
you know?
so much
Yeah.
there's only so much self-help books you can read.
Yes. Yeah.
Eventually
Exactly.
you need to read something to change your mindset a bit, and then if you want, go back to it. There's
Yeah,
nothing
like,
wrong with that.
if you can feed your mind and learn something while entertaining yourself
Yeah.
simultaneously, I think that's the best way of doing it personally.
Yeah.
To keep people who aren't 100% disciplined like myself still keeping on track is to make sure that you're enjoying what you're reading while learning. I mean, I think the whole world needs to know history, and if we don't know history, then bad things happen. That's all I'll say.
That's
So-
true.
I agree.
So-
I agree.
We agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. History tells the future, right?
No, exactly. It's just a reoccurring cycle. But
Yeah.
no, so before that, I was reading, I think it was Real Estate Investment for Dummies. When I decided that essentially I need to fill myself with more information than law enforcement information, when I decided to make the transition, I got a whole bunch of For Dummies books. I think I got Real Estate Investing. I got Airbnb, because real estate is something that I want to get into as well. I've got some people in my family that have been pretty successful, and of course, a lot of people in this country have been very successful. Canada, in America, of course, but real estate's a place where you can make some real generational wealth, and of course, the position I'm in now is because of real estate. So, but yeah, so it was real estate investing, it was Airbnb, it was small business for dummies. That was one that opened my eyes a little bit to all the paperwork and stuff that's involved, which I haven't gotten into yet, thankfully, but it's coming.
Yeah.
And then I got a couple of history books where I always I'm always taking in history, whether it's walking around and reading every single plaque that I can possibly find, or
I do
that
the
type
same
of stuff.
thing, yeah.
So instead of pissing my girlfriend off on walks and extending those even longer, I figured I'd just buy a couple books. And,
Yeah, that's fair.
yeah.
That's fair.
Kyle, I have to admit, you're highlighted something there that the most successful people in the world do. It's not one revenue stream. You already acknowledge that real estate is a tool. It is a vehicle. You're looking at different revenue streams. I know Dave and I have talked about it. We've shared about that. That's what people do. To hear that you're naturally doing that without that narrow focus, which is the kind of that policing community. It's like, I gotta just do this for 30 years. You're going, no, it's I have my business now. I'm looking at other franchises. I'm looking at investing. I'm looking at real estate. It's creating diversity in your growth. And as a business owner, especially as we're all very new, it's one of the best things you can start to do is building that foundation and then getting the framing up before you get the roof on, So that's good. I really acknowledge or admire hearing that you're on that path. That's good.
Yeah, exactly.
We're losing you, Richard. I think it's your Italian heritage with your hands. We've lost your mic a bit.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
God damn. Anyways, I'm sure it was juicy stuff I was saying.
Technical difficulties.
No,
All
I
right.
mean, real estate, when you really think about it, it's so simple. Yes, of course, it's just like everything else where there's risk involved and there's a little bit of paperwork and having to have knowledgeable people around you. But I mean, at least in real estate, you're paying them to be around you. It's a lawyer and it's a real estate agent. And as long as you've got a little bit of knowledge to know when you're, whether you're being screwed or not, which is just like any industry, of course, but it is a real way to make real generational wealth. And of course, the amount of, or the percentage of businesses that actually make it to the point where you have something substantial to pass down to your kids, or to make some real change in people's lives, is pretty slim, right? So, but real estate in this country for the last 10 plus years had to have been one of the best investments ever.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So,
well, Kyle, in closing, is there any advice you'd like to share with those looking to leave the 9-to-5, those just entering, and then in closing, where can our listeners find you? So, advice, and where can we find you in the world?
I would say, it's getting really oversaid, but you got to chase your dreams, because at the end of the day, we only get to live once, right?
Yep.
And
True.
the idea of going to work every single day knowing that you don't want to be there,
Mm-hmm.
to me, it sounds like the saddest reality ever. And I understand that, jobs pay bills and this and that, but so do businesses, right? I know like times are pretty tough financially for people to take those types of risks, but people that are willing to take those types of risks are more likely to end up on top when all of this financial stuff, blows over.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Like I've made a decision that, and I think it's become pretty clear that with all the financial stuff going on these days, there's people that are going to get left behind, and there's people that are going to really succeed in this.
Yeah.
And if you make a decision where you're going to be one of the people that come out on top, then, there's obviously things that you have to do to make sure that happens. But it's just, again, changing your mindset in general, because changing your perspective and mindset definitely changes the path that you'll go on for sure, and hopefully it'll lead you down the right one. But perspective and mindset are two things that I think a lot of society is lacking, or they're very just set in one way, thinking they have to live their life this way, and
So true.
no one will judge them and whatever, because no one expects judgment when they just say, oh yeah, I work 9 to 5, I work here type deal, right? But you're not really you're not pushing the envelope, you're settling in a way.
Yeah.
So if you're happy, great, but I think don't settle, because settling is the one thing that keeps people in that place where they don't want to be, but they think they're safe.
That's right.
And everything's going to be okay as long as they have this little safe job. But I mean, jobs don't last forever, right? Unfortunately. So, and at the same time, having the opportunity to be that employer that creates that safe space for people, or, gets to change the lives of their employees, or lead a whole bunch of people in the right path, like just being a leader for people in general.
Yeah.
I think more people should look into that, instead of, doing what their parents told them to do, or, all of that stuff. Because, we love our parents, but at the end of the day, all of our parents just wanted something safe for us as well.
That's right.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very much so. Well said.
And,
well said.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I guess just realize that there's more to life than what a lot of people think there is.
Yeah.
And chasing your dreams, doing something like this, you get more satisfaction at the end of the day. I get more satisfaction at the end of the day having made no money, but just knowing that what I'm doing and that the money is coming, compared to coming home from a day working a security job where I made $150 for the day.
Yeah.
Right? Where it's one's a lot more safe, but in reality, the other one's a lot more fulfilling. And I know people around me, they see me differently now. People in my life are very proud of me, that type of thing. And I wasn't getting that type of energy from people when I was a security guard, right? Because there's millions of security guards out there.
Right.
Yeah.
It's you're right. You're kind of just blending in when you're doing that, and I'm not looking to blend in anymore. I'm just looking to lead my own journey.
Awesome.
You're being authentic. You're being
Awesome.
organic. You're being you. I love it. And
yeah, there's not enough of us these days.
No. And where
So
can our listeners follow you, Kyle? That obviously they probably want to connect. They want to hear your story, and this is the place. It's your opportunity to share you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on LinkedIn. I'm pretty new to it, but I'm trying to get some more connections and just build up my network on LinkedIn. I don't link my other social medias to my business. So my LinkedIn is linkedin.com/in/Burlington, BURLINGTON, for the City of Burlington. And I also have my own little microsite on the Patrice Associates website. So that's patriceassociates.com/Burlington-L7T0C3, which is our postal code for my territory.
Awesome.
So yeah, if anyone is a business owner in the city of Burlington or surrounding areas, we're able to work wherever when we get genuine connections with business owners or candidates. If anyone's looking for recruiting services at all, I'd be happy to help you out.
Totally, and we'll put that in the show
Amazing.
notes for YouTube, Rumble, and Spotify, etc. So, Kyle, it's been incredible. The words, the heartwarming words from the show for Dave and I, that it really validates that what we're doing, and we appreciate that a lot. So, thank you for having time to come on the show.
Thank you.
Dave, where can our listeners find you?
Yeah, I'm on Instagram, David A. Moskowitz, or LinkedIn.
And you can find yours truly, Richard Biase, on Instagram and LinkedIn as well. Until next time, continue to dream bigger, make waves, and take action in life. We'll talk to you on our next episode.